Hello everybody, this is Morten from Inkish. Today Chica and I, we are in Den Haag in the Netherlands visiting a company that is called Storio Group. It's one of 4 production facilities specialized in photo products. And if you don't know the name Storio Group, it is a merger that is 3 years old, I think, between Photobooks from the UK and Albelly here in the Netherlands. And we are here because Matthias from Control S asked us and invited us. So Matthias, good to see you.
Nice to see you, Morten.
And now I already answered the question why you're here, but I mean, maybe talk a little bit about the reason why you are here, because you're actually an important player here, right?
Indeed, yeah. We are here with our product Symphony. We manage the whole production in this factory. So we manage all the things with Symphony, from order intake to shipping. We connect the different equipments, the different softwares. And that's why we are here as partner of the Storio Group.
And for me, just to understand it 100% correctly, so with Symphony, basically, it's not that you do all the things through the process, but you connect to software, to hardware, to components in that process, and then you manage everything takes place at the right time during that process. Is that correct? Or?
Correct. That is correct. That's why we call it Symphony Smart Factory Framework, because it's really built for your factory. It's built for your solution. You can configure it how you want. And what we do is we basically connect all the different pieces that are needed to produce a product. Because for a book, you need different equipment, you need different softwares than for wall decor, than for Max. So it's possible to connect the different pieces and dots and make then a fully transparent, visible chain out of it.
I spoke to Flores from Storio Group just before we spoke to you, and he said that one of the things he really liked about how you see Symphony is that it's object orientated from the beginning. So that basically, he said that you can have a printer, you can have a binding piece, you can have a software component, but he said that it's even down to you can have people as objects. Is that true? Or?
That is true. You can have everything as an object. It starts with the facility, then it goes down to the machinery, but every order, every pack list, every piece of pallet of paper, everything is an object. And with that, we have the flexibility to also adjust and adapt to new requirements, new business models. So when you want to introduce a new product and you get, for example, new material, then it's just a new object you create, set the properties, and then you can directly use it. Yeah.
One of the things that I think is amazing to think of is that I think that before Control S and Symphony, I don't know if you have a lot of competition in the market, but at least you're one of the new smart players in that. It's kind of a middleware solution, basically, right? Because in the past it was very much that people, they had like homegrown solutions, also like the Storio Group, but where they had to make things work in order to make sure that you had the flow of the thing. The way that you have done it with these objects, does that basically mean that you are not limited to, let's say, what a legacy system is when it is made specific to one factory?
Correct. So our main competitor are legacy systems because they are perfectly tailor-made on the needs of the customer. What we focused on is really building a very scalable, generic solution where you can configure everything so that we bring back the change management power to operations, so that it's not relying on IT teams. It's really that operations, that manufacturing owns their processes.
So as Remco said to us before we filmed him this morning, he said that it is actually about bringing control on things like imposition back to the production rather than having it being an IT ticket in an endless queue, basically, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
This business case with the Storio Group is in many ways quite interesting because, as you also already mentioned, they had like a legacy system that they wanted to replace. We spoke to one of the operators before in front of the software, and basically the task was to make sure that it was as it was before, more or less, right?
And the task is not make it worse than it was before. It was before from an operator or from a shop floor level, it was a really perfect solution that fits in all the needs that they have on a daily basis. And for us, the biggest challenge was to really build this and build the trust also for the operators that they don't lose visibilities, they don't lose functionalities, they still have more flexibility in changing things and have a safe and stable system, even in peak seasons where you have hundred thousands of orders a day.
When you look at the case study from a Control S perspective, is this like a typical customer for you, or where do you place yourself when you look at the typical customers that engage with you?
Yeah, we don't. That's the difficult thing for us. We don't have a typical customer, but we see us in the mass customization industry, and the Storio Group is one of the best example for what is mass customization, because here everything is produced in the amount of one. There's no single order that has more than the amount of one. So that is our typical customers are mass customization companies, and this is why we say, okay, we are a perfect match here. Yes.
So when we have telling the story from here, it is, of course, to tell the story that in a mass customized world, you need the software to basically make sure that it is handled correctly. I think also a very important story is that it's not a question about exchanging your MIS ERP system or your imposition system or whatever you have, because you can basically tailor it also to what people already have, right?
Correct. It's not about replacing everything. It's really about connecting all the different tools that are good in their particular part. But you need to have, in mass customization, when it comes back to the amount of one, you really need to have track over the whole system, because there's also no room for failure, because the worst thing that happened is the wrong photo in the wrong box.
Last question. When you have a case like this, for example, and you see the value, because I mean, the value is of course that operators, we spoke to the guy, he was very pleased with it, right? But I was also thinking that having something that is just replacing something old is maybe not as fancy as having something that is like a productivity gain or having some influence on your ROIs. Is it also something you invest in, like Symphony and working with Control S, to see productivity gains in your existing productions, or how do you see that?
Yeah, we see productivity gains, but what we really see is that bringing back the power of configuration brings a productivity gain, which is hard to measure. But we have customer, they doubled their output with the same amount of people. That's not all about Symphony, for sure. It's about changing the whole culture in the company. So we see us as one part of that, but we see us as the base, as the building block that you can start gaining all that efficiency, because you need to have data and visibility to do that.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Morten.